So here we go. President Trump announcing a new plan, a plan for the U.S. to take over, at least temporarily, the Gaza Strip, saying we'll turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East.
Lucas Tomlinson has more on what we know so far. Good morning to you, Lucas.
Good morning, guys. Standing alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the first foreign leader to visit the White House in President Trump's second term, Trump says the United States, as you mentioned, is going to go into Gaza and did not rule out U.S. military involvement.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
Mr. President, given what you've said about Gaza, did the U.S. send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary.
Now, Netanyahu appeared open to the idea. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry says it rejects any attempts to displace Palestinians from their land. The French government also said it's strongly against any forced displacement of the Palestinians. Egypt, Jordan, and other American allies in the region have previously rejected the idea of relocating the more than 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. During the news conference, our own Peter Doocy asked Netanyahu the following question.
We have heard Joe Biden and Donald Trump take credit for the hostage and ceasefire deal. Who do you think deserves more credit?
I think President Trump added great force and powerful leadership to this effort. I appreciate it. He sent a very good emissary. He's helped it along.
So that was in the Oval Office before the news conference. Now, Trump says the U.S. will own Gaza and be responsible for dismantling all the unexploded ordnance. He said he wants to level Gaza and get rid of the destroyed buildings and rebuild it. Guys?
You know, Lucas, there's no doubt. I mean, they're in a situation where they have to make a decision because Netanyahu says there's no way Hamas will stay in charge. Michael Waltz says that the Trump administration position is there's no way Hamas stays in charge. But if you've seen the hostage takeover, they're still the #1 presence in the area. They're the ones still with the guns.
That's right. And we saw those Hamas soldiers fully kitted out with brand new uniforms, brandishing weapons. Hamas still a force there in Gaza. Also, let's just think just a few days ago when Trump was talking about leveling tariffs on Mexico and Canada, you saw a big about face. Perhaps this announcement will get the attention of other allies in the Middle East, guys.
Indeed. All right, Lucas, thank you very much for the live report from D.C. So, it was a jaw dropper last night. The cover of the New York Post is, we'll take over Gaza. And you got to wonder where this idea came from. I know Jared Kushner had told the president a year or two ago, he said Gaza's waterfront property could be very valuable and suggested the Israelis move the people out and then clean it up. Donald Trump is a developer. He sees the potential. But then again, we're talking about land that people have fought over for decades, and it would involve moving the Palestinians out. It looks like Trump and Netanyahu discussed it, but they didn't really talk to the other side because, as Lucas detailed, some of the other sides involved, like Hamas, has said no. The no's so far that I just was reading about in the Times of Israel, Egypt is a no, Hamas is a no, Saudi Arabia is a no, and China is a no. And there's an op-ed in the Times of Israel right now that says the Gaza plan won't happen, but could shake up the region because new ideas are needed. This might spark more viable solutions. And that's what Donald Trump said yesterday. We need new ideas.
Well, I think it's going to force the Muslim world to find a solution as well. I think it's going to give the president a lot of leverage. Something has to give. And I don't know if this is the solution, but I tweeted out last night, let me just sleep on this. Let me just sleep on this. I think so often when the president puts a radical idea out there to change the conversation around the issue, people just freak out. And that's what the media did last night.
If America looked like Gaza, I would consider leaving if, if I had to live in those conditions. Exactly. I mean, every time we show video of it, I'm like, I cannot believe people live like this because we're so blessed and fortunate here
it's like
in America.
California. It's like the wildfires, but eventually people want to go back, and that's the problem.
But and that's a little different because it's so gorgeous in California. You do have to risk the wildfire, especially if you're not going to get insurance for it. But when you look at the video of Gaza, that is no place I would ever want to go or visit. And he says he's not specifying where this new land for Gazans might be. But he said, why not? I mean, you don't have to leave, I guess, if you don't want to. But if you have the opportunity for economic development and supplied unlimited number of jobs and housing and a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land, like he calls it, why wouldn't you consider it? Why wouldn't they say, thanks for doing this? Netanyahu said one thing that I thought was interesting. He said, you say things others refuse to say, talking about Donald Trump. And after the jaws drop, people scratch their heads and they say, you know, he's right.
Just knowing a little bit of the history, you had the Palestinians in Jordan, and they said they created havoc. They threw them out. They were in Lebanon. They were creating havoc. They tossed them out. They were in Egypt in the 1920s, and they basically gave birth to what we now know as al-Qaeda. That's Hamas is a division of that. They got tossed out. So they became Israel's problem, and we know about the Balfour Agreement. So now they had in the Oslo situation, they said, what if we gave you Gaza and West Bank? And Clinton said, we build a bridge, both of them. That'll be your state. Yasser Arafat essentially said, yeah, if I do that, they'll kill me because we basically want all of Israel. So if you want all of Israel and you say there's going to be many more October 7ths and you rocket to Israel every single day, Israel just had 1,100 innocent people, including babies, killed in the most horrific way imaginable. Why would you say, let's just call it a ceasefire, go back? Because we're going to be on this couch again 18 months later and talk about another devastating attack.
They promised they would do it again.
We have to revisit all of this, but we are so done. It is really two areas, Palestinians and Iran. Everybody else, and we're going to talk to Qatari foreign minister and special advisor shortly, everybody else is on the page. And you can't say it's anti-Muslim. President Trump says, listen, I love the Middle East. I'm going to be going to Saudi Arabia. I'm going to go visit all these countries. It's not anti-Palestinian. It's anti-terrorist. The rocketing every day has to stop. But the Democrats don't seem to understand that. Listen.
He's got his eye on some real estate deal because he thinks that the coastline of Gaza is going to be great for some new hotel.
It's preposterous, and it's illegal by any understanding of international law.
This is not anything of a plan. This is a complete American imperialism at its roots, at its core. Donald Trump suggesting that this land in the Middle East would be better occupied and overseen by America. I just don't think we can really begin to even comprehend what we're hearing 2 weeks in from this administration.
Clearly, America is now, expressing clearly that they want to occupy permanently, probably, Gaza. They want the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
So one of the big
That's not what he said.
And of course, the Palestinians, if you interview them, which many of these left organizations have, they're going to say, we don't want to leave. But they have to say that. They don't have any other options. They're landlocked. No one wants to take them right now unless President Trump comes up with a deal. And they're scared of Hamas.
Well, and so far they say they're not going to leave. And that's the problem right there. My question is, how much is it going to cost? I mean, we've got Elon Musk going through the federal government right now.
The Arab world's going to pay for it, he said.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. The Arab world, Saudi Arabia said this morning, no ties with Israel without the creation of a Palestinian state. So they are a firm no on the idea.
Are tariffs in the future, then?
Right.
Although there are people who are already talking about how it would be a great idea. A lot of people. David Friedman, the ambassador for Israel during the Trump years, he suggested, so will we call it Mara Gaza or Gaza Lago? And then Marco Rubio said the United States is ready to make Gaza beautiful again.
Well, we tried to build a platform, and that didn't work under the last administration to get aid in.
Yeah.
They have a ton of money. They built tunnels. They were supposed to build cities. We gave them a ton of aid. Hamas keeps it. And then when it was time for them to rebuild and get support, they bought guns and weapons. The Palestinian people have no choice. They're being held hostage by those people who aren't on like mind with Hamas. They have no choice. These guys got the guns. They will torture your family if you come out and say you caused all this unrest. So they almost should want to slip us a note saying, get me out of this.
Well, and if we don't, go ahead, Ainsley.
Sorry, no, you go ahead, Lawrence.
No, I was just going to say, and if we don't get control of this is going to be more terror, and that means the U.S. troops are going to eventually have to get involved. And so if you don't want intervention, then let's put an end to this in some way. I don't know if this is the idea, but I'm willing to have the conversation.
You can't tell me when you look at these images there aren't people that are going to want to leave.
Well, Right.
There are people who don't want to leave.
You got about 2
There are
million people.
some, but I guarantee there are a lot that would like to leave.
Yeah.
Did you see those images?
Well, there's no
You
place
can't
to live.
there.
But
I
if their
know.
land, it's
Well,
like,
look
I
at
can't leave my home.
Look at how many millions left Syria, and they went to Turkey, they went to Europe, they went everywhere. They got on boats, they went on rafts, they went to Italy. So I mean, they left. So 2 million people left. You could get people out of Gaza when you have no choice. Assad tried to kill everybody, so they left.